Hi, hello, it's Nikki and welcome to my messy bookshelf. Today I just wanted to give my thoughts on a book that I just finished reading a few days ago, and that is Wives and Daughters by Elizabeth Gaskell. This was the first book that I read in 2025, and it is one that I have been avoiding for several years because I love Elizabeth Gaskell's books, or at least the ones that I have read, but I had heard that this was an unfinished work, and I don't do well with loose endings, so I was avoiding it for a long time. However, I added it to my list of books that I wanted to read in 2025, and I flipped it open and I wanted to read the first few lines to see what the vibe was. And so when I flipped it open and I started reading, it drew me in, and I kept reading, and then I kept reading, and then I kept reading. So I guess you could say it made me read it. So I did finish it, and I have to say that I really enjoyed the experience. So what this book is about, it is a book very similar to other books set around that same time period. It's set in the 1830s, and we are in the small village of Hollingford, which is a country village in England. And we have our main character, who is Molly Gibson. She is a very young girl at the start of the book, and a few things happen, but we don't spend too much time in her childhood, and then we move on to her as a young lady. And basically what this book is about is Molly and her relationship with her stepmother and her stepsister, and the relationships that they have with everyone else as well. So I really love these types of books that deal with sort of the day-to-day life. And there were a couple of books that kept coming to mind while I was reading this, and even now. I can't help but compare it to Mansfield Park, because Molly Gibson, our main character, reminds me a lot of Fanny Price. But I liked her character a lot more than I liked Fanny Price's character. I know that people hate when I say that, and they love Fanny Price, but I just didn't. But she does remind me of Fanny Price. And then the book itself, because it's dealing with, social change and class structure and class differences in this town, it reminded me a little bit of Middlemarch as well. And of course, it reminded me of Cranford, which is also by Elizabeth Gaskell. And just describing the very mundane day-to-day things that these women in this village, what they get up to, what kinds of things they talk about, what kinds of things they're wearing, and the local scandals and things like that, which I love. And I really enjoyed how this book, first of all, I love Elizabeth Gaskell's writing. I don't think it's too prosy or too fancy for me to enjoy. I think it's just very simple writing, and she really does a good job of fleshing out her characters. So we have this small village, and Molly Gibson's father is a doctor. He's the local doctor, and he is traveling all over the place taking care of patients all over the neighborhood. And obviously in those days, travel was a bit tricky, and it's interesting to see and hear, well, to read about them talking about the new railroad that might be coming in, and how quickly they'll be able to get from one place to another. So I find that very interesting. I also found the difference between the different classes. So Molly and her father, they're sort of a lower middle class type of family, and they are they are on intimate terms with the Earl and Countess, the head family in the neighborhood. They are also on intimate terms with an older family that thinks that they're more important than the Earl and the Countess, but the family of the Hamleys. So I really enjoyed how you can sort of see how those two families, while they are on intimate terms with the families, the two other families sort of look down a little bit on their family because they're not quite of the same social standing. So I enjoy that. I also really enjoy, there are some characters that are fleshed out pretty well, in my opinion, that are not main characters, very side characters, like our the Miss Brownings, our spinsters, and describing how they live and their conversations and funny little anecdotes about them having interactions with people of a higher social standing as well. So I really enjoyed seeing the intricacies of the different class structure, how they interacted with each other and whatnot. I also really liked how Elizabeth Gaskell portrayed another elderly lady who she spreads quite a bit of gossip. We are a very gossipy town here in Hollingford. I really enjoyed her little elderly widow who is spreading all sorts of rumors because she can't see very well. So it was very humorous to see that. So all in all, I really liked how all of these things played together. Besides that, like I said, the book is unfinished, but she was only a chapter away from the ending before she passed away. So you can definitely infer how the book is going to end. So that was a load off of my mind. And also, her editor has a note after the book describing conversations that he had had with her, talking about what we know is going to happen. So it sort of confirms what we thought was going to happen, and that it does happen. We just didn't get to see Elizabeth Gaskell write it down. So I was very satisfied, and I am so happy that I finally got to this book. This book was definitely a 5-star read for me, and it's the only book I've read this year so far, completely, but it's also my favorite book that I've read so far this year. But yes, I highly recommend this. If you are on the fence because of it being unfinished, I tell you it will satisfy you. The ending will satisfy you. And yes, it was just lovely, and I loved it so much, and I hope that I have my next few books are as enjoyable to read as this one. But I thank you so much if you made it to the end of this video and my ramblings, and I hope to see you in the next one. Bye.